I love looking at people who are the best at what they do. And like Michael Jordan, he's missed 9,000 shots in his career or something when he says, or he took whatever 26 game winning shots and missed them. Tiger Woods, his first year and a half, he was dominant, that 2,000 range, but he won in his first couple years. I think I just saw a statistic. He won 71 of 100, 150 starts or 250 starts, I think it was, which that's insane to win that many, but also he lost a lot more than he won. So that's when, the attention on social media, everything's all about winning and being the best and all of that. But you look at even triathlon now, there's almost a different winner every weekend. I mean, I don't know the last time people have gone back to back really. So that is all to say, like, I've got a good support team. I think we're approaching everything the right way and we want to be the best, but it's a process too. And I just, you dream and you have to believe in yourself no matter what the prep and everything is going into the race. But when you're done, you look at it realistically, what went well, what didn't, and you learn from it, and then you move on to the next block. Texas Ironman recap. This race I think is a lot of positives, but the results, kind of sucks on paper. So that's kind of always the battle after this. I guess the way things went, the lead in, just to talk about the winter all the way through, since this is probably one of the first videos I've really done kind of in depth. You kind of saw I did a move over the winter, and just maybe the prep wasn't 100% there. I know it wasn't 100% there. When I talked with Neil, it was probably closer to about 70%, but honestly, it doesn't really matter because everybody's known what the date of Texas is for, at least a year now. So you show up with what you got and you got to take your shot. And I felt pretty confident about it because we also did a lot of work aerodynamically, which you will see. And that I feel like has been a huge win. So the prep for this race, it was kind of weird going into Texas because it almost didn't feel like an Ironman. I've only done 3 full distance races and they've all felt really huge. Like Arizona was my first. Roth is a major kind of championship race. Kona is Kona. And then, Texas is a regional champ, but it just felt, I don't know, maybe not as like burden of pressure there. So I felt pretty relaxed in race week. There's a bit of feeling of like unpreparedness, not as prepared as I could be, where not only just training wise, I just had to trust what I was able to get done, but I fiddled around with my bike a heck of a lot more than you should before an Ironman. And that was because we had made these aerodynamic changes. I'm testing some different products like saddles, front ends, cockpits, like all of that sort of stuff. So I was confident, like it wasn't a huge positional change, but just dialing in how the bottles sit and everything. I was, with my coach and my dad and stuff just a couple days before the race, like in the garage, just putting stuff together. And we were like, yeah, this looks great. This is awesome. Like taking measurements and stuff. And it was all dialed, but like, yeah, that was like a weird feeling to do pre-race because I like to have stuff weeks in advance just set. So I viewed Oceanside and Texas as this learning experience. I have a new coach, I'm training in a new place, I have a new bike, testing new positions, new equipment. So just all of this is gathering information, just putting a score on the board to see where I'm at with a lot of room to improve. So with all of that said, the preamble, race morning was awesome. I got all my stuff set. Felt like I was almost like missing things because it's really pretty simple. You put your stuff in transition like always. My nutrition now with Good Life is really pretty simplified because it's only in bottles and I just mix them to different concentrations. I was shooting for about 105 grams an hour on the bike, and then about 75 grams, maybe a little less than that on the run. So that was a couple flasks on the run, and then 4 bottles on the bike, picking up a bunch of water as we went. The walk from transition to the start line was a lot longer than I thought. It just took a while, which was fine. I didn't really feel rushed at all until maybe we got to the start corral, where I felt both rushed and not rushed because they were lining us up. We were trying to get in. I was trying to put on my suit with the GPS unit, the swim skin, all of that. And then we kind of waited while everybody got called up, and I had to pee so bad. And it was like a super long line for the pro toilet, so I was just waiting to get in the water. But did the warm up, everything felt pretty good, and I love a non-wetsuit swim. It just feels more natural to me. I have a great swim skin. I also have a great wetsuit, but I just, I'm a swimmer. The wetsuit doesn't always help me as much as it might a non-swimmer. So it was great to have, I guess, like a quote unquote, like pure swim. And I got out super well. Took a few fast strokes, broke the hip of a few guys around me, just meaning like they went behind me. I didn't physically break their hip. But yeah, and then I just felt like, oh, well, there's one guy who was leading, and I felt like guys didn't really know where they were going. Like my goggles were super clear. I was using the clear Magic 5 goggles, just saw every buoy, and I went straight kind of, but I was following, they just were zigzagging. And finally I settled behind whoever was leading in that first few hundred meters, and it felt super chill. And there were other guys kind of coming up. We were just clumped. And the fastest way to swim is single file and just everybody slot in, because the wider you get, everybody's draft holds you back, and then more guys can slot in. And the best place to draft is right between two people's hips. And there was just a lot of that going on. So after debating a little bit, the smart move might have been to stay behind and conserve some energy, but I just felt really good, and my swim training's been good here. So I pushed the pace a little bit, went around and got to the front super easily and just settled into a strong pace. So that kind of maybe took a little bit of a toll because I had to sight a bit more. I always sight quite often, and that kind of does some strain on the hip flexors in the back just with always going up. So it's something for me to just keep an eye on and work on. But all the way through, I felt like I strung it out fairly well. And it wasn't until we were turning into the canal, I started to take the turn a bit wide, and some of the guys came in on the inside, which was just an opportunity for me to sit on some feet. And there's part of me that really wants to win the swim and come out first, but I'm not there to win the swim, I'm there to win the race. So I just took that opportunity to position well, see if there was maybe an opportunity I could come around right at the swim exit, but just try and relax a little bit. And my T1 was pretty clean. I had to duck under one of the bars in transition because I just missed, but I didn't lose any time anywhere. So that was solid. But going out on the highway, I just noticed like my hips being a little bit tighter in my back. Not in the same way like where my SI joint was kind of really sore last year. It was just kind of muscularly. And, that could have been maybe where my bottle positions were, how I was sitting in the saddle, just maybe the extra sighting that I did as I was leading the swim and not like fully resetting. So, but it's an Ironman. You're always going to have something sore. And I just kind of managed that. And throughout the bike, I knew going out, we would be into a headwind, and coming back on the highway, we would fly in the tailwind. And then, the headwind was going to increase on the second lap and you'd be pushed a little harder. So I knew the pack might be easiest on that headwind section. But if you were able to get some separation, you could make people pay for it more there. So I kind of thought back a little bit to Oceanside and how hard of a ride that was and how it kind of took something out of my legs. So I really tried to be conservative, take in all my nutrition. I could tell halfway through the first lap that it was going to be a hot day because there were no clouds and the sun was out. And yeah, so I just really tried to keep connection with the front of the pack, which happened well. And I was very lucid and aware, which is good during an Ironman. Like I saw Gustav a couple times stop. Like I was seeing guys try and go off the front, push the pace, knew who was kind of in the pack. So that was all pretty good. Ironman bike is 4 hours long, now maybe a little under. And I guess the most significant thing was I noticed we went through 56 miles in my fastest half Ironman time ever. Like Michigan last year, I was 2 hours and change, and I pushed 320 watts in that race average. And then I probably went through the halfway point when we were looking at it at about 275 watts for this race. So my biggest takeaway from the bike is just, I think the aerodynamics are really working in the changes that we're doing. Last year, there was just a disconnect between what we had seen in the wind tunnel and the good CDA there versus what I was able to hold and sustain and do outside in the races. Now, from what we were able to calculate in the velodrome versus what we're doing outside, there's a lot closer connection. And, I've been racing Rudy for a long time, and he always posts his stuff on Strava. So I've always been able to kind of compare how my watts are compared to his, even if he's a bit ahead of me or wherever. And he's always been able to average less watts than me for either beating me or us being like very similar. And this time we were very similar in the wattage. And he came into transition a couple minutes ahead of me because on that second lap, coming through that aid station at the turnaround to go onto the second lap, the age groupers plus going through the aid station and the wind, just the pack kind of broke up a bit, and it's hard to tell because the moto kind of gets away and there's other people around that fill in the gaps. So I think the gap started to open up with the tailwind. Guys like to push big gears, and I was starting to feel like my back and my hips a bit more, like the stretching didn't really make it go fully away for a little while there. So probably about mile 90 to 100 in there, I just kind of started to lose some contact with some guys like Rudy came by. I know the group of like Daniel Backegard and those guys kind of caught me by the end of the bike. So end of the bike though, 4-hour ride. A lot of the guys were in that 357, 358 range, I think, with a couple, Cam was 353. I don't need to ride the fastest Ironman bike split in the world. I just got to try and be a little closer. But that was probably my smallest gap to the front of the field coming off an Ironman bike. And I know it was because in Ironman Arizona, Skipper and Hogan Hogg came off the bike about 5 minutes or so ahead of me. Roth, it was 12 to Ditlev and Laidlow. Kona, it was another like 5 or 6 minutes. And so this race only 2 to 3 to some really, really strong cyclists in a pack, and I don't feel like I lost that much time. So in talking with Neil, we're super happy with how it ended up, and I averaged 30 less watts than I did in any other Ironman. So even taking into account if it's a fast day and all of that sort of thing, this is still significantly faster than what I've been going for the power. So I'm feeling pretty confident with more work, able to sustain more power. That's going to really help, and also help me just have better legs off the bike. So coming through, I was pretty, not like cooked, but I wasn't in like maybe a great spot coming off the bike, but you never really know how you're going to feel until you get going. And also I really love my run shoes right now, like the Cielos. They're just super plush, so it makes you feel like you have good run legs. And coming out, I just had my back kind of locked up. So it wasn't to where I couldn't run. It just was felt like it was limiting me and just felt like my form was way off. And so I gave it a few miles before eventually stretching. And definitely some people got some good photos of me, some good video. Just like that was super painful. I could just tell it just was a muscle soreness. So overworked, just, you get a bit more fit, more time in the saddle, that stuff starts to work itself out. I don't really feel like there's something positionally that's crazy off. But yeah, I just wanted to reset and then try again, which is really, I feel like, hard to do sometimes 3 miles into a marathon. So I was proud of myself for doing that. Ran a respectable pace, probably around what a lot of the guys were running toward the front. That only lasted till like the end of the first loop. And then, it's just this roller coaster ride through the marathon of, at some points I'd feel like I'd get a bit of a rhythm and feel good. And then other times it felt like I was limping along. What I'm happy about with is, in Kona, like when I popped on the bike, there was no coming back. I couldn't push at all in the marathon. Maybe I had a mile or so stretch halfway through where I rallied a little, but then, it was just a long time. So to get back to the finish line. So this race, I feel like I had a bit in the tank, and it was just, not being fully prepared physically. So now I've got some time to address that and go, but still a lot of positives. The kind of grit that I showed, the bike improvements. So I feel like we're on the right track, and we got some scores on the board. So this has definitely been able to learn a lot, which is key, because I don't think in training I would have learned as much as putting myself in a pressure and stressful situation and pushing harder than I would have just, any day out there on the bike training here. This is a bit of a reset for me. I want to take some time to really recover from the effort of these past couple races. And then it's a training block. Frankfurt is the main goal, not just to get my knee slot, but to get on the podium, see how much I can close the gap to the guys who are at the front, which there's probably a lot of the same guys racing Frankfurt as there was in Texas from what I've seen on social media and just the way that the season is structured. Before that, I'll have Eagleman, but the main goal will be to be Ironman trained and better prepared for that. So I'm sure we're going to spend some time dialing in the bike a bit more for comfort, and I got to change my hydration system because of German rules, and just really kind of focusing in on being strong and consistent, because I know I have a good marathon in me off the bike. I've shown that in Roth, and I know what it feels like. And so it's just kind of building up that aerobic base and strength to make sure that I'm prepped for a full.